Nobody in Medina could have imagined what would happen on that fateful morning. The sun was just beginning to rise over the rugged brown hills that had guarded the sacred city for centuries. Mount Uhud towered over the city, silent. But its presence was more than just geographical. It was a spiritual, historical, and sacred place for Muslims worldwide. But today, something unimaginable was about to occur. A decree had been signed, a royal order issued. The Saudi king had given the green light to demolish part of Mount Uhud for a controversial construction project. The reason? City expansion. Plans had been drawn up to build an elite residential complex and a new helipad for a royal guest complex on the outskirts of Medina. But to do so, part of the ancient mountain had to be demolished. Engineers and workers were secretly brought to the site. The media remained silent. Only those directly involved knew of the decision. However, as often happens, rumors spread faster than sound. That morning, dozens of pilgrims stood at the foot of Uhud, stunned by the sight of massive excavators heading toward the revered mountain. A frail elderly pilgrim from Turkey fell to his knees. With tears in his eyes, he whispered, "O Allah, how can they destroy the mountain that your prophet loved?" Others began recording on their phones, unable to believe their eyes. But it was real, all too real. A yellow excavator roared and moved forward slowly. Huge and menacing, the machine extended its claw toward the slope of Mount Uhud. Just 4 seconds after the video began, a trembling voice was heard. "It's true. The Saudi king ordered the demolition of Mount Uhud." The machine struck, and the unimaginable happened. A deafening roar came not from the sky, but from the mountain itself. The ground shook so violently that the operator dropped his phone. Pilgrims screamed, birds scattered in panic, and from the freshly struck rock, a blinding light burst forth, like a flash of white fire. The excavator operator was thrown from his seat. The machine suddenly stalled, its electrical system burned out in an instant. Sparks flew, panic ensued. Security forces rushed to evacuate the area, but no one could escape what happened next. From the scar left by the excavator's bucket on the mountain, a brilliant aura began to rise, resembling a flame. It wasn't fire in the usual sense. Nothing burned, but it glowed with terrifying intensity. People watched in complete silence as the unearthly radiance formed a dome-like shape over the mountain. The air grew still, heavy, almost electric. Then a sound was heard. Not a voice, not thunder, but something ancient and divine, as if the mountain itself were weeping. Amid the chaos, someone shouted, "It's a miracle, a sign from Allah." And indeed, it was a miracle, for this was no ordinary mountain. Mount Uhud had a soul. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, once said, "Uhud is a mountain that loves us, and we love it." Sahih al-Bukhari. Over 1,300 years had passed, but the mountain still remembered. To understand what really happened, one must go back to the year 3 of the Hijra, to the Battle of Uhud. After the humiliating defeat at Badr, the Quraysh of Mecca regrouped and returned with a powerful army of 3,000 men, determined to crush the Muslims of Medina. The Prophet consulted his companions and decided to meet the enemy outside the city at the foot of Mount Uhud. His army was vastly outnumbered, only 700 Muslims against 3,000 enemies, but they were driven by faith and courage. The Prophet assigned 50 archers to guard the rear on a small hill, ordering them not to abandon their positions under any circumstances. The battle began, and at first, the Muslims gained the upper hand. The Quraysh began to retreat. Victory seemed near, but then a grave mistake was made. Seeing the enemy flee, many archers left their posts to collect war spoils. This gave the brilliant Quraysh commander Khalid ibn al-Walid, who was not yet a Muslim, the opportunity to flank the Muslims with his cavalry. Chaos erupted. The Muslim ranks broke, and many were killed. Even the Prophet, peace be upon him, was wounded. His face was bloodied, a tooth broken, and he fell into a ditch. Rumors spread that he had died. Panic gripped the Muslims. But the Prophet, peace be upon him, rose again, bloodied, but with unshakable faith. Among the fallen was the Prophet's beloved uncle, Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib, whose body was horribly mutilated by Hind, the wife of Abu Sufyan. It was a scene of pain, loss, and sacrifice. But Mount Uhud witnessed it all. Its rocks absorbed the blood of the martyrs, its slopes echoed the cries of the companions. And now, centuries later, when the king tried to strike this mountain again, it remembered. The mountain responded not with words, but with a miracle. When the dust settled and the engineers rushed to restart the equipment, they noticed something strange on the rock. An Arabic inscription had appeared, formed naturally but faintly glowing. No one had carved it, yet it was there, as if written by the hand of fate. Allahu Akbar. Allah is the greatest. Journalists, scholars, and geologists were summoned. The videos went viral. Millions around the world watched and wept. The footage could not be debunked. International teams of experts studied the site and declared that the energy surge had no scientific explanation. In a rare public address, the Saudi king spoke to the nation. His voice trembled as he said, "We sought progress, but we touched what we should not have. From this day, Mount Uhud will never be touched again." Within 24 hours, all machinery was removed. Armed guards were deployed, not to protect the mountain, but to protect people from themselves. The area was cordoned off, and Mount Uhud stood once more, untouched, sacred, and victorious. This miracle reminded the world of something we often forget. Faith is not only in books, it lives in the earth. It lives in the places where the prophet, peace be upon him, walked. It lives in the rocks that witnessed revelation, and it defends itself when desecrated. Mount Uhud, the mountain that once shed the blood of Muslims, shed its light, not blood, to protect the legacy of Islam. The lesson of this story: never underestimate what Allah has sanctified. When we forget our history, the earth remembers. When we chase greed, divine signs remind us of what truly matters. And when sacred land is violated, miracles happen, not for display, but to awaken hearts. This powerful incident serves as an eternal reminder that sacred places are under divine protection. Mount Uhud is not just a mountain. It is a living symbol of love, sacrifice, and the legacy of the Prophet Muhammad. Peace be upon him. When human arrogance tried to erase what Allah revered, the mountain responded, not with collapse, but with a miracle. The fiery glow, the trembling earth, and the mysterious inscription, Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest, were not random phenomena. They were signs from the Almighty, warning us that no matter how powerful a ruler may be, no one can touch what Allah has sanctified without consequences. This story teaches us to protect our religious history, honor the symbols of our faith, and remember that the natural world itself can rise to defend the message of Islam. In an era when many forget the sacred, Mount Uhud stood firm, shouting a silent message to the world. I remember, do you? O Allah, I ask you for success in all my endeavors, guidance on all my paths, and blessings in all my gifts. O Allah, make me one of those whose efforts you accept, whose prayers you hear, and whose deeds you reward. O Allah, open the doors of your mercy to me and ease my paths to happiness and prosperity. Relieve me of the burdens of this world and the concerns for the hereafter. O Allah, grant me beneficial knowledge, abundant and lawful sustenance, a heart full of humility, and actions that are accepted by you. O Allah, give me strength when I am weak, patience when I am tested, and gratitude when I am blessed. Make me content with what you have given me, and always striving for what brings me closer to you.